Hello, and thank you for joining us today for our webinar with Web.com, helping small businesses win locally in 2020. My name is Lizzie Roth, and I am a Senior Account Manager for Locology, and I will be your host for today's event. A few housekeeping items before we begin. This webinar is being recorded and will be circulated to all attendees with the presentation within 24 hours of the broadcast. Questions will be answered during the Q&A session at the end. You can, however, ask questions at any time during the broadcast by using the question window in your control panel. Our speakers today are Nicole Cassis, Vice President of Communications, Sean Clark, Content and Communications Copywriter, and Travis Crawford, Social Media Manager. Without further ado, I will hand things over to Nicole to go ahead and get started.
Thank you, Lizzie. Hello, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for joining us for Winning Locally in 2020. As Lizzie said, I'm Nicole Cassis, and I'm Vice President of Communications here at Web.com Group. I've been with the Web family for a little more than 2 years now, but it was back in last August of 2019 when I came on board and was building out our brand new communications org. And now my team is focused on producing content for our blogs, video content, overseeing social, and all the internal and external communications. 6 months later, here we are. We've got this talented team in place and we're producing all this great content. Today, I'm joined by two of my team members, Travis Crawford and Sean Clark. So Travis, let's have you give a quick intro.
Yeah, hey, my name's Travis Crawford. I am a social media manager here at Web.com, where I specialized in assisting our marketing initiatives across the Web.com, Network Solutions, and Register.com brands on social. I've been with the company a little over 5 years. I started working directly with our small business owner clients, and over time worked my way up, and now I have the privilege of working on our brands directly. On to you, Sean. Yeah, sorry.
Thanks, Travis. And yeah, like Lizzie and Nikki said, I am a copywriter here at Web.com. I produce and repurpose content on the Web.com blog, as well as some of our other brands. I've also worked in customer service, online marketing fulfillment, specific to SEO, and also in our website design department. And I'm excited to be here today.
Excellent. Thank you both. Now, before we launch into the section of this webinar that I know you guys are all waiting for, the part where we teach you and educate you, I wanted to spend just a moment talking about our why, our purpose for existing as a company. So here at Web.com Group, it's our mission to really help companies and individuals succeed online. And we really want local businesses to win because we know that when local businesses thrive, so do their local economies. And these days, customers, they really want to buy local because buying local means keeping their money in their own community. So we understand that in our audience today, you guys probably aren't the CEO of Walmart or Amazon or any other big name mega retailer out there, but we understand that you probably have those same aspirations to attain to some degree a level of notoriety in your local community. Now, for small businesses to win locally in 2020, it begins with an awareness of the trends. That's really important, but that's only the first step. In this webinar, we're going to spotlight the trends. We're going to explain the catalysts that are driving those changes. And probably most importantly, we're going to teach you what you need to do to actually elevate your business locally. 3 key areas of growth marketing exist for local businesses in 2020. Search, social, and tech. So we invite you to grab a notepad, get comfy, and join us for some actionable pieces of advice on what you can do today to win locally in 2020. So we said we're going to start off with trends. The first trend that you're probably noticing as a small business owner are that you guys face a ton of challenges out there. Now, this was a really unique study that we saw from Forward Push, and it highlights those top challenges that small businesses are facing. And you can see that they really run the gamut here. Everything from not having enough revenue, not enough clients, not enough leads, to having those inconsistent sales month over month, or there's the inefficiency in systems. Simply, people are saying that they don't have the plan or that their marketing isn't working. Now, what we found very interesting was that nobody on this survey actually reported that poor service delivery was a challenge, even though that was an option on here. Also really interesting to us was the fact that a lot of businesses said that a challenge for them was their marketing, but revenue and clients and leads, all these other things were listed up towards the top, even though marketing is so interconnected to those other challenges. Now, we've worked with a ton of businesses over the years, and we know that for a small business owner, it's so important to have this cohesive online marketing infrastructure because that's going to help bridge the gap. The second trend that we wanted to touch on was the fact that small business owners are really underutilizing all those free resources that are available to them. So about 36% of small businesses don't have a website. 1 in 5 small businesses actually aren't utilizing digital marketing. And we're also seeing that 2 of the top channels for customer research are online reviews and the company website. And this really isn't any surprise to us. I think the biggest surprise is that we're not seeing more and more businesses gravitate towards using these tools and actually getting themselves online. Now, Sean came across a really great example in his own life, and we wanted to make this a little bit more real for you all. So, Sean, take it away.
Thanks, Nikki. Yeah, this was just some anecdotal evidence of small businesses underutilizing the digital marketing resources available to them. This is, and to be fair, this is a fairly new business that just opened a few months ago. But I've been hearing a lot of great reviews on Facebook about this new pizza place that had just opened up very near my home. So I decided to look them up and see if I could call them or find their directions. It took me a little bit of work to find the listing. I knew the name of the company, Serafina's Pizza. However, what made it difficult to find was that on the business listing that has been created by somebody else, they spelled the name of the company wrong, for one thing. So that made it a little difficult to find. And then when I called them, no one was answering. I decided to drive over anyway. And when I arrived, they were closed. So I was not, and on their listing, they don't have hours listed. I have since contacted the business owners, and so that I'm hoping that they can get their information updated, and so that I can try a pie as soon as possible.
Thanks, Sean. So first we touched on those trends, but now we're going to get into that second promise that we made. We told you that we'd explain what was causing all those trends that we're seeing. You know, it's a real curiosity. Why aren't we seeing more of these small businesses getting online? You know, why don't they want to get involved? And while the reality is there could be an infinite number of reasons for this, you know, lack of time, lack of money, you name it, one of the biggest obstacles that they're facing is that their digital ecosystem is in chaos. Now, we're not going to go through all the fine details of this lovely infographic, but it gets the picture across that small businesses, they don't know where to even begin. They understand that there's a whole lot of different platforms out there, but they're not sure how to connect them. They don't know where to even begin, what they do have to do, what is just an option for them. It can be really, really overwhelming. So now, organic search is really evolving quickly. And at web.com, this is actually one of our areas of expertise. These charts here are from Moz, and they're probably about 2 years old, but the trends are still really, really relevant today. And what we're seeing here is that there's some key activities that a business really needs to focus on in order to rank in search. And these start with a website and their Google My Business profile. As you see in the top image, Google My Business Signals is one of the first ranking factors. And in the image below, it's actually number 4. Now, on-page signals are also really important. They're number 4 in the top box and number 2 in the second one. And you'll see a lot of overlap between these, but the main thing is there's a lot of factors that go into this, but there's probably 2 that you really want to focus on the most. And now we understand, like this graphic compared to the other one maybe isn't any less intimidating. Like I said, if you're able to focus on your on-page signals and your Google My Business signals, that's going to be one of the most important things for you.
All right, thank you so much, Nikki. So up next, to help local businesses, we wanted to talk a little bit about what goes into a modern website, because a modern website factors a lot into how your website will be indexed in search engines. So one of the first things that every modern website needs to be is it needs to be mobile friendly. More and more customers are shopping online or looking for businesses or services online. And they're using their phones. So it's extremely important to provide a good user experience that your website loads on mobile devices so people don't have to zoom in or out. Additionally, this is a very important ranking factor. In 2019, Google rolled out its mobile first index, and they recently announced that by September 2020, the entire Google search, that this will be rolled out to the entire Google search. So all websites moving forward have to be mobile friendly or they will not be indexed. Next thing that's important for a modern website is it needs to be easy to navigate. Creating links to your portfolio page or to your contact information seems pretty straightforward enough, at least for as far as the user experience goes. But it's also extremely important for search engine crawlers as well. If you want every page of your website to be indexed in Google, then it's extremely important that you have an XML sitemap set up so that Google checks every link to every page of your website. These days, most modern website builders like ours will automatically generate an XML sitemap when you publish your website. So if you're building a new website, this is something that can be achieved pretty easily. Next up, as a copywriter, I'll say that this is maybe one of the most important things. You got to have good copy on your website, explaining who you are, what you have to offer, how to contact you, how to do business with you. Ideally, you have the bandwidth to create a blog or a resource section or a frequently asked questions page. If only because it's worth bearing in mind that every time you answer a question on your website, you're creating new opportunities for your website to rank for any given search query. Eye-catching imagery, this was as true when websites first came into the zeitgeist as it is today. You want to have high quality images on your website. Ideally, you can capture your own photos of your business or your products. However, you can still achieve great results by using services like Shutterstock or finding public domain images to have a good key visual on each page of your website. It's also important that those images load quickly. And in fact, your entire website needs to load quickly. Generally, when you come across web pages that aren't loading as quickly, it is because of the images. So it's important that you're using some kind of compression. Websites like TinyPNG will compress your images for free. There's many ways of going about it. That's one of the easier methods in my own personal experience. But this is also important, not just for user experience, but for search engines as well. This is one of the things that Google tells us that they are checking for when they are determining how they rank your website against others. And lastly, you need to make sure that you're providing a secure experience for your website traffic. This is another one of the things that Google and other internet companies like Mozilla have placed a big emphasis on. If your website does not have an SSL certificate, most browsers like Google Chrome and Firefox will mark your website as not secure, and that's just going to drive traffic away. You need to make sure you are providing a secure experience. Next up, wanted to talk about, to succeed, every local business needs to have a Google My Business listing. Up here we have screenshots from the Google Play Store showing the Google My Business app. And then on the side here, we have an example of another method that the Google My Business often appears, and that's in Google Maps. Your Google My Business listing provides key details about your business, such as the name, your address, if you choose to list that, a phone number if you choose to list that, ways to contact you, links to your website. I provided a screenshot of the app, the Google My Business app, just because it makes it so easy to manage all of those details on your listing, and definitely worth downloading on the Google Play Store or on the App Store for iPhones and iPads if you have it. It only takes a few minutes to update the details of your listing, and it provides other features as well, which we're going to get into in just another minute. And for this next slide, wanted to pass it over to Travis, our social media manager, to talk about some of the ways that local businesses can win through social.
Thanks, Sean. Yeah, so in addition to all the great tips that Sean and Nicole have shared so far as optimizing your search and website strategy for local, there's also some easy adjustments you can make on your social pages and platforms to support those strategies. Two of our favorites are the Call Now and the Message Us call to action buttons. Both of these tips are really based around reducing friction for your audience. In marketing, when we use the term friction, that really just means how much effort does it take your audience to do the action that you want them to take. In this case, if you want them to pick up the phone and call you, or maybe start a conversation with you on social media where they're already at, that's much less effort than it will take them to go to your website, load your page, maybe have to navigate to a contact us page, and then type in your phone number or perhaps start an email thread with you. So if your goal is to get conversations started with people in your area, the Call Now and the Message Us call to action buttons are great options, especially when layered with the geo-targeting and the behavioral and interest targeting that Facebook and other social platforms offer.
Thank you so much, Travis. And if I might add, crystal clear voice you got there. You should definitely look into starting a podcast if you haven't already.
Thanks.
So lastly, we want to talk a little bit about how to win locally through tech. And how you can do that is by making sure that your website and your social media and your Google My Business listing is working for you. And the best way to do that is by ensuring that you are set up in Google Analytics, Google Search Console, and Google My Business. Most website builders will provide you with some top view analytics that you can look at, including how many visitors are coming to your website or maybe where they're coming from, maybe some insights to their behavior. But these resources, Google Analytics and Search Console and Google My Business, let you get a bit more granular with some of the finer details, and we're going to get into that here. So with Google My Business Analytics, this comes up every time you open the app, the Google My Business app on your phone. You also have access to these analytics on the desktop view when you go to business.google.com/create or manage. But these analytics can be very helpful when just monitoring your presence online and seeing how people are engaging with your business online. Some of the top KPIs that it provides you with are the views. This allows you to see if if the internet users are finding you in Google search or if they're finding you on Google Maps, which can be important if your business is a brick and mortar, or if you're a service company, you may value one over the other. It also gives you insights as to how people are finding your Google My Business listing, whether they are looking for your name, searching directly for your name, or if they are discovering your business by using some other search terms. So for example, if you manage a law firm, it'll tell you if people are searching for the name of your law firm or if they are finding your business listing using search terms such as lawyer near me or legal services near me or something like that. And it will also give you insights to the activity, which is how people are engaging with your listing, whether they are clicking through to your website to learn more about you, or if they are using the feature on the listing to call you right there. If you're uploading any photos to your Google My Business listing, that can give you insight as well. Or if they are clicking to get directions to your business. Next, I want to talk a little bit about Google Analytics. And the first time you open Google Analytics, it can feel very overwhelming. I know this from personal experience because it seemed very overwhelming the first time I looked at it. And it also looked and that was also the impression I've gotten from a lot of my customers. I've served hundreds of customers in our SEO fulfillment, and many of them had never looked at this before. But there are two specific areas of Google Analytics that I wanted to highlight that I think are extremely helpful for local business owners and can provide helpful insights right away. So the first thing I wanted to spotlight in Google Analytics was the location section of analytics. You can navigate to this section once you have Google Analytics installed on your website. You can check the audience portion and then go to the geo and then location. And what it will show you is where your website traffic is coming from. So on the top level, it looks at which countries are driving the most traffic to your website. For our purposes, in this example, this company is based in the United States, so most of that traffic is coming from the United States. Once you click on your country, you'll see that it'll break down which states are driving the most traffic to the business. This business is based in New York, and so most of that business is coming from New York. And when you click on your state, you can get even more granular and see which cities are driving the most traffic to the website. In this example, this customer is right kind of on that border between Long Island and New York City, and we can see that most of their traffic is coming from New York City. We can also see which towns in Long Island are driving traffic to their business. This person also has goals set up in their Google Analytics, so we can kind of tell where those conversions are being made, whether they're being made in New York City or which parts of Long Island it's working the best. Another section of Google Analytics that I wanted to spotlight was the source medium section. You can navigate to this section of Google Analytics by going to the acquisition section of analytics and then to the source medium. This part of Google Analytics breaks down the channels that are driving the most traffic to the website. So whether it's Google search, or if it's a Facebook page, or a Yelp page, or if or if it's direct traffic, it will give you those kinds of insights. So you can kind of make decisions over time as to which channels you want to make sure you're investing in and see which ones are working for you. Google Search Console is another very valuable resource for local business owners. There's it can still feel a little overwhelming. There's not as many options, but there's a few sections in Google Search Console that I really wanted to spotlight that local business owners can get a lot of valuable information from. The first section is the performance section of Google Search Console. In the performance section of Google Search Console, you can get information as to what keywords are driving traffic to your website. And let me back up a little bit. Google Search Console helps you manage your presence in Google. So whereas Google Analytics will give you insights as to your website traffic overall, Google Search Console gives you insights and tools to manage your presence in Google. So if you're ever curious about what keyword phrases are driving traffic to your website, Google Search Console is one of the best places that you can go to get that information. It can give you information as to how many clicks, what terms are getting the most clicks, which terms you're getting the most impressions for in any given Google search, the click-through rate, your average ranking position, because it's important to understand where you see your website ranking in Google is maybe not where other users would see your website ranking in Google. So it'll give you a nice average that, and you can see how it changes over time. Another valuable resource in Google Search Console lets you check to see if there is the coverage section in Search Console. It'll tell you if there are any problems with your website ranking in Google, if there are certain pages of your website that are taking too long to load. It may be flagged in the coverage section and tell you that there's a page of your website that is not being indexed because there's some kind of problem with it. A common occurrence, the most common, is that a page is taking too long to load. And that about wraps it up. We hope you enjoyed our webinar. You can learn more at our blog at web.com/blog, where we will be going over more trends and talking about more solutions. Thank you so much, Lizzie.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. And I know we have a couple questions that we can go over. So the first question I had from the audience was, do I have to pay for advertising to reach new users on social media?
Yeah, I'll take that one. So the short answer is no. You don't have to pay to reach new people on social media. I'm a firm believer that good, effective content and good creative is the foundation of any effective marketing strategy. And if you really focus on creating content that's effective and good and useful and original and just useful for your audience, people will find it and people will gravitate to it. And there's no ad budget that will make an effective content effective. And a lot of times when we talk about content, or we use the term content, we might think blog posts, and that's a really important part of content strategy, but it's not necessarily limited to just a blog. So it could be creating a group, or maybe featuring a testimonial, video testimonial of one of your clients who has a good success story, or even just sharing images or animations that are inspirational or informative. The sky is really the limit. And if you really just focus on great content, it's going to help you out, and especially if you're posting that content consistently. That said, a paid budget, once you do find good content, can help you amplify that and reach people more strategically. So you can really leverage the full suite of targeting on the social platforms to focus on certain occupations or geography or interests or behaviors. So both are really important to a marketing strategy, but really figuring out how to do things in an unpaid or organic manner is crucial.
Thank you so much for that. It's all very helpful. The next question we had was, what's the most important requirement of a modern website?
Thanks, Lizzie. I'll go over that one. All 6 items that we listed on the slide about what goes into a modern website is all very important. But probably right now, being mobile responsive is a top priority. As I mentioned, if you build a new website and it is not mobile responsive, you are not going to be indexed. If you have a website from before 2019 and it is a static website or it's not mobile responsive, it probably still ranks now. A lot of those old websites were grandfathered in, but moving forward, your website has to be mobile responsive. After that, it kind of depends on a case-by-case basis. Like I said earlier, as a copywriter, I think the copy is the most important thing. But as long as you're creating a great user experience and providing helpful information and directing your website traffic to go and do whatever you want them to do, then you're creating great experience. Then that should reflect how your website ranks in Google search.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that, Sean. So I'm going to go ahead and end it there, but I wanted to thank the web.com team. There was great questions and discussion, and just thank you guys again for putting this all together for all of us to learn more about helping small businesses. Just a few more items from Locology before we end today's webinar. You will be able to view today's broadcast along with previous webinars on our website, locology.com. Just navigate to Research and Resources and drop down to Webinars. Thank you so much for joining us today, and please be sure to visit locology.com and subscribe for updates to be the first to know about future webinars. We hope you guys all have a great day. Thank you.